bad things I've done when I'm talking to them about Jesus and I'm talking about His death on the cross and about grace and forgiveness. That's right. Jesus knows all about us, by the way. Did you notice here? He knew all about her. I think that's kind of funny. He knew all about her. Here's something interesting. I skipped over this back in chapter 3. Let me see. What verse was that? About how he didn't commit himself to any man, for he knew what was in man. I can't remember where that is. Well, anyway, he knows what's in us. That's the point. He knows all about this woman. But see, he didn't. Do you remember back in chapter 3? He said he didn't come into the world to condemn the world. He didn't say this to this woman to condemn her. He's not about condemning. He wants to give her something. He wants to give her something that will be the answer to all her problems. What he's saying here is, evidently in your life, you've never been satisfied. There's been some kind of problem, for this to have been the case. He doesn't, get into it it's not a psychologist here. He's not getting into the psychology of it, but he's just saying, I've got something that's your answer. It's the answer for you. Go call your husband. I don't have a husband. Yeah, that's right, you don't, because you've had 5, and the one you have now is not your husband. So he's saying to her, yeah, I know all about you. I know about your life, but I've got what you need. That's why he started this off by saying, I'll give you some water that will be in you, and it'll spring up into everlasting life, and it'll satisfy you. So he says this to her, and she says, verse 19, in a great understatement, I perceive that thou art a prophet. That's a pretty good answer. Okay, I see you. I see that you're a prophet here. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain. Now she's going to change the subject. This is so funny. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, but you say Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus said, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship, you know not what, but we know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers of God shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Now, where is the Spirit? That's on the inside. He's turning her attention from what's outside to what's inside. He's already said, I'll give you a well of water that will be in you, springing up. He's already tried to direct her attention to what's on the inside once. Now he's saying again, you're talking about whether you should worship, in this place or that place. I'm saying it's not about this place or that place, but this place. That's the microphone. Yeah, not this place, but this place. That's what he's saying. God is a spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit. That's in here, and in truth. And the woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ, and when He comes, He will tell us all things. Jesus said unto her, I that speak unto thee am He. That's interesting, isn't it? That's one of the few times He just boldly proclaimed that's who He was. And upon this came His disciples and marveled that He talked with the woman. Yet no man said, What seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her? The woman then left her water pot and went away to the city, and saith unto the men, Come see a man, which told me all the things ever I did. Is not this the Christ? And then they went out to Him, and they came unto Him. And we find out later when Jesus comes back to Samaria that let's see. Look at verse 40. Skip down to verse 40. So when the Samaritans were come unto Him, they besought Him that He would tarry with them. And He abode there 2 more days. And many more believed because of His word. And said unto the woman, Now we believe, not because of thy saying, for we have heard Him ourselves. We know that this is indeed the Christ, the Savior of the world. Now, do you notice that in the end of this, the whole object of it was that they believed. So what we got in this story again is Jesus comes to this woman and He talks to her about changing what's in her. I'm going to put in you a well of water. He used the well as an illustration of that. And the end result is that those who heard it believe. So we've gone through 4 chapters here of John's Gospel, and what is the point he's been making? Number one, he speaks to us in a kind of a symbolic spiritual language, and we've seen that. But the message he's conveying with that language is that Jesus comes to change what's on the inside of us. And number 2, what's our part in all this? To believe in that. To believe that's true. To accept it and put our trust in it and rely on what He's put on the inside. And by the way, what He said to Nicodemus and what He said to this woman at the well is true for all of us as well. What we have as Christians in our salvation is exactly what he described as a well of water springing up into everlasting life. And he told it to her to say, you've had a lot of problems in your life. Guess what? We've got problems to do with in our lives. Maybe not what hers was, but the answer is the same for her and for us. What he puts on the inside of us is a well of water springing up with a life that is meant to satisfy us. And we need to turn our attention, instead of out here somewhere, into in here somewhere, because that's where the life is.